Episode 143, PR and Marketing for Events and Trade Shows.
Welcome to the PR Playbook Podcast, the only podcast giving you actionable skills and advice you need to execute a strategic PR program. Warning: what you hear next may lead to brand awareness and increased sales and customer exposure. Now here's your host, Rinjini Joshua.
Hello and welcome to episode 143. Today we're going to talk about how to maximize PR and marketing at your next event. I know we all go into trade show season kind of busy and excited, ready to meet people, but what you have to do is make sure that you're prepared to meet the right people. And that not only goes in marketing, of course, when you're talking about new business and business development, but also the media. And that's one thing that we come across quite often when small businesses, startups, even medium-sized businesses are going and exhibiting at trade shows. They're really focused on business development and forget the whole media component of how to maximize your event. A trade show can be a make or break media event. That should be a place where you guys are optimizing every resource you have to get in front of the media that's there. And if you don't know, now you know that most trade shows or events have a pre-registered media list. Media usually gets into these events for free and gets to register in advance for free. And those registrants are given to exhibitors of the show. So if you're exhibiting at a coming show, get that list. It's usually available about 3 to 4 weeks in advance. In some cases, maybe less. Like TechCrunch Disrupt, they notified us 2 weeks in advance that the media list was available. For CES, it's usually the first week of December, the media list is available. For other trade shows, it's about a month in advance of when the trade show is happening. And you want to get those and create an email marketing plan for media specifically around what you're going to talk about at the show. That means creating some key messaging for the show itself. You don't want to just show up and, do word vomit on your company. You want to have a directive. It's almost like having a press release. You want to talk about something specific, an industry challenge, how you solve it, and then have a call to action for each of these media. And then if you have a more visual component, like a video or a product or hardware, then show them that. And even if you have software, you can do like a soft demo. So I really want to talk about how you can maximize these events. First things first, if you're an exhibitor, get that pre-registered press list. I just told you 2 weeks to a month in advance. You can actually contact your salesperson. They might put you in touch with the PR team or you can go through the exhibitor portal if there's an exhibitor portal, and they usually have the media list. So make sure you have that. Second thing is plan an announcement around your event. The easiest way to get media to come to your booth is to have an announcement. So whether it's at the show or you're going to have an announcement the week after, sometimes that's good if you're a smaller brand and you don't want to compete with those big brands that are announcing things at the show. You can post announce, but you can preview your announcement at the actual trade show so that you can talk to these people in person and create relationships with them. So plan an announcement around the show. If it's a product, I would actually do the announcement the week before the show and then come and have them demo or see it live at the show. And then typically a lot of people ask like, oh, do people want to do a phone call? Well, if you're at a show, not a lot of people want to do a phone call, but you might want to reserve some time set aside for those who can't make it to the show, who might want to cover your product or your announcement. So sometimes we do get a request for phone calls. You might want to do those like early in the morning or the evening before the announcement just to get those off your plate. You will have to dedicate some time. And I usually create some kind of schedule for the show so that I can see where I can fill in the blanks of media. Now, you want to make sure that you're going to pitch early, but I'm going to keep on going to tip number 3. Set up media interviews in advance. So for a big show like CES, you're going to have to reach out to them 1 to 2 months in advance. Outlets like TechCrunch, CNET, Engadget, Gizmodo, those guys are booking their TV slots probably 2 to 3 months in advance and their interviews about 1 month in advance. And if you know somebody or you have a relationship, just go ahead and reach out to them and say, hey, are you attending the show? I'd like to book a meeting with you at the show so I can show you this coming thing. Otherwise, if you don't know these people, you don't have a relationship, but you're working with the press list, go ahead and start reaching out 4 weeks in advance. Have a schedule open and say, hey, look, we're booking for this, and this day when the executives are available. Make sure your spokespeople are available during that meeting time and schedule these in advance. You don't want to wait till last minute. The week before pitching is not going to work. However, if you do have a press release and you haven't made time to pitch, you can send it out under a hopeful embargo as long as it's not too like highbrow of a press release. And you could just say, hey, please stop by our booth next week. We are at booth 250 in Hall A or whatever, wherever you're located, and get them to stop by your booth. And they may not confirm over email, but they might actually write it down to stop by your booth. That's another thing. You really need to make sure that you have somebody at the booth that understands that you're going to have different types of people stopping by. But again, we're going to talk about that in a future tip coming up here. The next tip is make sure you create unified messaging for your booth staff and spokespeople and make sure you review it either the morning of the first day or the day before the actual show happens. You want them to be able to have key takeaways. One, what is your company about? Who is your company? What message do you want to relay? Two, what news do you have at the show or around the show? Three, what is a call to action, not only for the media, but for the target audiences? And then four, have a media kit ready. Make sure you have a media kit. Everybody knows where the media kit is. We've been doing this thing where we have like business card size cards with the QR code to the media kit, and that's been really effective. So you might want to do that. Next, watch for media badges at your show. This is kind of a creepy thing, and us PR people have been doing it for decades, so don't worry. The media is used to it. The media badge is usually a different color. I repeat, the badge is a different color, folks. So you can easily, well, sometimes not so easily, but most of the time, pretty easily identify who is media and who is not media. Media badge is a totally different color and it says media on it. So once you've identified that, try to do that the first morning, the first day, or even when you're like registering for the show, try to like peep out what the media badge color is and keep your eyes peeled for when media is walking by, lure them into your booth and give them your pitch. You never know when they're going to be the right person. So just make sure you keep an eye out for that. One caveat to this is that sometimes the media registers as exhibitors. So like larger media like Hearst, ABC, Fox, CNET, TechCrunch, those kind of big guys sometimes are exhibitors also. So sometimes they have an exhibitor badge. So you never know. And then also, of course, if you see a camera, reel them in. If just ask them who they are and pull them in. I mean, your job at being at your booth is to pull people in and brief them on what you're doing there, what the call to action is anyway. So you might as well do that. The next tip, scout for podcasts and broadcasters at the event. Now, basically, keep an eye out for those media and what I said, pull them in. If you see somebody with a camera, if you see somebody with a mic, and then, if you see their badge and kind of can identify who they are, just pull them into your booth. Next, there is always a press room, especially at the bigger ones. The smaller shows, whether like more like conferences or industry conferences and events, maybe not. But bigger shows always have a press room. Go check out the press room. Sometimes there's places to leave your collateral. So you can leave your marketing or press collateral there. You can leave those QR code cards there, or you can even meet press there. So, when we get really desperate as PR people, we'll go and hang out in front of the booth and look for people at specific outlets, and we'll go to the press room. Another little pro hack is if you do have a podcast or something like that, or you guys have a blog writer, and register them as press and they can actually go into the press room. Now, don't go in there and ruin it for everybody and bother the press. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying there are ways to get access to the press when it makes sense. So make sure you have your ducks in a row before you do this particular pro tip. The next thing is make sure every day, every evening, you're following up with the media that has stopped by the booth with the press kit, some kind of intelligent commentary, and make sure that they know that you're available for anything else they might need, any questions about your press release, any questions about your collateral, any questions and commentary that you might need from your executive. So make sure that you follow up that same day And if not, by the end of the week, but follow up is so crucial. And I cannot say that enough in any of my podcasts. Follow up, follow up, follow up. Okay. Next tip, coverage monitoring. Coverage monitoring can happen from same day to the next week to the next month. So some of these shows can produce fruitful content for like a full quarter if you do it right, but you do have to monitor. Make sure you're following up. If you found that someone was really, really interested and didn't post anything, like first of all, you have to make sure that you're writing these people down or scanning them, scanning their badges, making sure that you're tracking all the media that's stopping by. But if you found that someone hasn't written something, there could be a reason, or they might have missed some piece of content, or maybe they didn't get the media kit. Follow up with them a few weeks later and just see if you can get some media coverage, or if they're working on a story, let them know that, you're here as a resource if they need you. So these are, some pro tips that should get you moving on any events and trade shows that are coming out or that you're planning on going to. The other thing is make sure that you have a booth schedule. I did not mention as this tip. This is kind of like a bonus tip. Make sure you have a booth schedule and that there's always staff in the booth and that there's always someone who can speak to those key messaging points so that you guys don't look silly, because media pop up whenever they want. It's sometimes not predictable. You can always ask them to come back, but it's not likely at a bigger show that they'll come back. At a smaller show, they might return. And it might be good to have a printed schedule available so that you can fill it in. It could be good to have your spokesperson's card on hand so that you can give it to the media, and always ask the media for a card. And if not, take a picture of their badge. Please monitor the media as they're coming in. Take a picture, write it down, scan their badge, whatever you need to do to keep track. This is very, very hot collateral. So make sure that you're doing these key steps. And I promise you, your next trade show is going to be awesome. You can actually follow these same kinds of tips for business development, except obviously with the caveat that these are business development or potential clients, potential customers, potential partners. So, yeah. All right. Good luck, guys. Email me if you have any questions. If you're having trouble getting a media list, if you need any support, RonJunie@thesilvertelegram.com. And I will talk to you next time.